Oh my God. Tommaso Ciampa has made his AEW debut in All Elite Wrestling. Oh my God. I cannot believe this. And it's crazy because he just left WWE. He let his contract expire. He did not renew his contract at WWE. And it like he literally was just put to the alumni section the other day, and out of nowhere he makes his debut in AEW after Mark Briscoe had a really good match with the Clone for the TBS champion, the TNT championship. Excuse me, the TNT championship had an excellent match with TNT championship, and this was a stacked show. Like this was a three championship show, three titles on the line, really stacked show, and Mark Briscoe had a really good match with the clone, the clone, and he came and cut a promo after the match, basically saying that that he was gonna take on anybody, and that he didn't want to face anybody else from the Don Callis family, which makes sense. I mean, come on now, like he had two, three matches with Kyle Fletcher. He took the title from Kyle Fletcher at Full Gear. I mean, how much more do you need to keep facing guys in the Don Callis family? And even with the guy he just beat to retain the title, the clone, like he's a part of the Don Callis family. And as he says at the lights turn off, and it was crazy because, the music that played, it said the Psycho Killer. And I didn't take the hint that that was Tommaso until I saw his face. I don't know if that was a name he was using in the Indies, and I've seen some clips of Tommaso before he came to WWE. Some of his some of his earlier things he did before he came to WWE. But I didn't know that was a name he was using, or a nickname he was using, or whatever. But when they showed that, and then he came out, I just could not believe it. I mean, wow, what a way to make your debut after not extending your contract, WWE. And that was a perfect way to do it. I mean, he didn't have to wait 30 days. He didn't have to wait 90 days as a main roster guy. Like because he let his contract go out and he let it expire. He put out a message thanking the company and everything. And I mean, let's face it, this is a new beginning for Tommaso. He's not a spring chicken. He's in his mid 40s at this point, but to to my knowledge, anyways, um, either late 30s or early to mid 40s. I know he's definitely not any younger or older than that. Um, but you know, this was huge, man. I mean, to come out and confront Mark Briscoe. It's crazy that the match is going to take place at Collision, but it does make me kind of want to see it, even though I'll be watching a Rumble early in the day. But that will be my only reason for looking at Collision, is to see that if I do tune into it. But man, what a way for him to come out, man. I mean, this was just massive, a massive pop he got. And, this guy, he spent nearly 10 years, if you count this year, um, 10 years, and maybe it was 11, in WWE. He really made the black and gold brand during the NXT era. That was when he was being, pushed to the heights with DIY, with them winning the tag belts. Who can ever forget the takeover they had against FTR, where they won the tag team belts? That was a phenomenal match, and then to go on and break away from to turn heel on Johnny Gargano, which was a big turn that nobody saw coming. Um, and that really started the path of him, really, because they didn't immediately start feuding, because I think he, after he did that turn, he was injured, so he was gone for a while. Then he came back, and they had like a trilogy that each match was just amazing. They had against each other. I stand at you know all the shows that they faced off against each other, And then he would go on to win NXT Championship, actually beating Aleister Black during the time Aleister Black was the champion. And he called the title Goldie, and he held the title for quite a long time, before he finally, dropped it. But back in 2018 is when he won the title from Aleister Black. And I think it was actually because Johnny cost Aleister Black the match, and that's how he won the title. And then he called the title Goldie, and he held the title for quite a long time. After that, before finally losing the championship. Well, actually, I don't even think that he lose it or did he get injured? I'm trying to remember, but anyway, yeah, it's he really made the black and gold era. And, he stayed in NXT for so long, even when it became 2.0 and it was the NXT Black and Gold versus 2.0, towards the end of 2021, they did that match, the War Games match between them, and, NXT 2.0 won the match. And, then he lost his title at the start of 2022 to Braun Breaker at New Year's Evil. Was it New Year's Evil, or was it the next show that followed that, Stand and Deliver? I think it was New Year's Evil, but yeah, man. I mean, I could just go on and on with the moments he had in NXT. That's really where he made his mark. And when he finally did get called up, it just didn't transition the same. I mean, he did, granted, they first paired him up with The Miz, which was, with all due respect to The Miz, because I do like The Miz, but it was kind of just a weird pairing. First, they kind of put him with The Miz. He had a couple of shots at the United States title against Bobby, and even most recently, his last match I can remember before he left the company was against Dragunov, which he lost in the U.S. Open Challenge, which Dragunov was ducking him for a long time before he finally gave him the match. But he did go on to win the tag team titles twice with Johnny Gargano, and I do wish they would have gotten the WrestleMania moments together, because when they did team up at WrestleMania 40. They were on the losing end of the stick in that ladder match that R-Truth and The Miz won the tag team titles for Raw, and then, Austin Theory and Grayson Waller won the tag team titles for SmackDown, but they were in that match. And then last year they had to sit on the bench. They weren't even in WrestleMania at all. But yeah, man. I mean, he definitely. It's a shame he didn't get to win a singles championship on the main roster. He won the tag belts twice with Johnny Gargano. They actually beat, the what do you call it? The Bloodline, or the 2.0 version of them, whatever you want to call it. To win the tag team titles the first time. Actually, hold up. No, it wasn't a blowout. But they won the tag team titles the first time, and then they won it a second time, beating Motor City Machine Guns for it. I remember that show, when they won it the second time, because they had a 2 out of 3 falls match with them at the Rumble last year, which unfortunately the placement of it, caused the match to suffer. But yeah, man, just a really, really good show. And it was great to see, Tommaso. Oh, you know what? I think it was Grayson Waller, and it was actually Grayson Waller and Austin Theory they beat when they won the titles the first time. It wasn't them, the blonde. It was them two. But anyway, it's great to see him in AEW now. Hopefully, he can get some singles goal. I mean, he might even beat Mark Briscoe, at Collision. But just a big surprise. Like I said, he really made his mark in NXT, the Black and Gold era. That's when he really, especially during his time as a heel, he really elevated that brand really big time. Um, really big time when he was on that brand, and it's great to see him make the transition. I mean, it seemed like he left on good terms. I mean, I'm sure eventually he'll reveal why he left, but I mean, really, it's just he just never they were never able to like really push the button on him for him to be a singles champion, something we got when he was in the main roster. But this was huge, man, and I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, a show full of championship matches because elsewhere in the show you also had Tekla against Chris Statlander, which was a really good match between them. Chris Statlander retained, but the match was really, really good. Um, really good match. Like Tekla, she's something, man. I mean, that match was all hard hitting as you can get, and Chris really had to put it in to get the win in that match. And then even you had FTR against Joe, against Jake Doran and Mark Davis, and that was a hard hitting affair. Actually Dex Harwood was bleeding, and it might have come from the chops or some of the just the hard hits that they were giving to these guys. I mean, they were taking it. It was two heels against each other, and ultimately they did protect Mark Briscoe and Jake Doran. These guys being a part of the Don Collins family. They did protect them because it was Moxley that came out, because early in the night they had attacks Moxley after Moxley had his eliminator match that he won um, early in the night, and they came and attacked him afterwards after Takeshita stared him down going for his championship, for the Continental Championship, and so he came back later with the Death Riders and took him out. Still confusing what they're doing with the Death Riders at this point, with him acting as a face and then them acting as heels and then face and then tweeners. I don't know, but um, yeah, that happened later in the night. Um, so you had that with that match, but it was like I said, it did protect them because they didn't lose clean, which I kind of figured what happened. I mean, these guys are beast being together, I will say. So you had a lot of other stuff happen to show. Um, you know, Brody King confronting MJF. They'll have a eliminators match next week, and if he wins, they'll face off at Grand Slam Australia. Of course, MJF wasn't too happy about that, and even the way the show ended with everybody just looking at MJF down after Andrade Aludor defeated, Swerve, after distracting the ref to hit a low blow to win the match. Well, I figured he was winning that match. He's going against Kenny Omega next week. Really good match between those guys too in the main event. I figured Andrade was winning, especially early in the night when Swerve had said he hadn't lost yet, as of this year, whatever, since he came back, because he wasn't the one who took the pin in the Fatal 4. It was Samoa Joe who did. But yeah, man, they really brought it. And Andrade ultimately got the win. So you had that going as well. But but it was a lot elsewhere that happened. Let's say everybody going after MJF for the title, and ultimately Hangman being the last one to stare him down after Kenny spoke to him. Everybody, Andrade looking at him up and down, and even even him leaving with Hangman pulling him to the side, so he had everybody going out, all looking down on him with the championship. But I really just wanted to mainly talk about the surprise with Tommaso. I mean, this is huge, man. I mean, we'll see what they do with him. They got a stacked roster, and again, he's not particularly young. He's not old either, but he's not, particularly young at this stage. But he can still, he still can go, and hopefully he gets utilized a little bit better. like I said, I think when he was in NXT, like they were using him quite well, at that particular time. But when he got called up, because initially he didn't really want to leave NXT, but when he finally did leave NXT, which I think was around 2022, when he finally did, and that ironically was the year Triple H that took over. Um, you know, it just was kind of a weird transition in the beginning, and I don't know, it really just took him a while to get going, and the DIY stuff was working, but at the same time, Tommaso is really good, just like Johnny Gargano is too, as Johnny Wrestling. Like he's really good as a singles competitor as well, and it just didn't really transition to that. But you know, we'll see what they do with him, man. I mean, like I said, big thing with him. Really happy for him. Um, Glad he left in the terms he left. It's funny, Will Hobbs, Powerhouse Hobbs, he just had his last thing with AEW when they lost the Trio Championship in Collision. That was like 2 weeks ago. And so he just finished up with AEW, and now, um, you know, now Tommaso finished up with AEW. You get one who leaves the company and one who comes to the company. He finished up with WWE. So it's just, it's really interesting, how to keep the pedal going with that. But yeah, man, I just really wanted to talk about that. And like I said, a really good Dynamite, I would say overall. Like I said, 3 championships, none of them change hands, but I did think that the show was decent for the most part. Even Kenny's match with Romero was really a warm-up match, if we're going to be honest. I mean, it maybe went a little bit too longer than it needed to be. That was pretty much just a warm-up match. The ultimate thing was afterwards, when he said he hadn't felt as good in years, and just basically putting MJF on notice, and also kind of the tension Swerve seemed to have with him as well, and it looked like they were going to come to blows before Don Callis came out. So you got that whole thing, but yeah, you had some other stuff that happened too, like the backstage segment with the Don Callis family, with Okada apologizing to Kyle Fletcher, and then Don Callis trying to tell Takeshi to apologize to him, to accept his apology or to forgive him, basically, for what happened with them. But you know, it that Tommaso coming, there's been guys who let their contracts expire, and but they didn't like immediately jump shift. This is one of the rarest times that somebody let their contract expire and just immediately jump shift, that I can remember. A lot of times, because it's different when you let your contract expire, because you don't have to wait. You can just leave and go to another promotion. But it's very rare that you see that happen. And I was trying to think of the last time in AEW that I've seen that happen, because even when Bryan Danielson came it all out in 2021, it was months after he had his last match in WWE when he lost to Roman. I think it was like the April 30th edition of SmackDown, and then he was gone for like months before he came to AEW. And then even Adam Cole, like it was at least a week apart from his last match in WWE to when he showed up in AEW at All Out. So it's just very interesting, you know, kind of seeing him jump sharp like this. But yeah, man. I mean, that's pretty much it. Grandmaster Flex. Subscribe. I'm trying to think, is anybody recent that has done that? And I can't say even Andrade, like when he came back, with the stuff that happened in the second one with WWE, it wasn't immediate, and then we know they kind of tried to hold him and all that. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys.